we kind of have these very powerful dynamic forces. Probably one of the fewest, probably the only time that I can remember where we've had such a strong, ambitious agenda at the commission level, while also simultaneously there has been an enormous amount of activity in the ETF options and equity market structure space.
Hello and welcome to At the Forefront, Fintech Conversations. I'm Sam Belden, VP and Head of Content at Forefront, and today I'm pleased to be joined by two representatives from the Security Traders Association, or STA. STA is a grassroots trade organization representing individuals employed in the financial services industry. Jim Toes is STA's president and CEO, while Jim Hyde is STA's chair for 2024, as well as the head of business development and strategic partnerships at NYSE. Gentlemen, welcome to At the Forefront.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, Sam, thank you very much.
Happy to have you guys. So many of our listeners will be familiar with STA, and believe it or not, their 91st annual Market Structure Conference is fast approaching. It's going to be held September 18th to 20th, and it's going to be held in a new location in Orlando, Florida, after several years in Washington, D.C. So today we'll talk a bit about the new location, some of the topics and events that attendees and sponsors can expect on site. And with registration now open, you could expect to hear more updates on this over the next few weeks. So looking forward to more on that. But today we have a lot to get into. Let's start high level. A few weeks ago, STA announced the title of your 91st Annual Market Structure Conference, Shifting the Landscape. So tell us how you guys came to that title and why it makes sense for this year's conference in particular.
Well, thanks, Sam. Thanks for having us on to talk about our marquee event here. So listen, I mean, I think every time when we get we have a regulator today, obviously, in the SEC, who has a very ambitious agenda, probably the most ambitious agenda that a commissioner has had, a chairman has had since the SEC has been formed. And if that was just like a standalone thing where we just had a chairman with a very ambitious agenda, the industry probably would be okay, we're trying to respond to it and trying to figure out what is the best place to kind of put the regulation in our market structure. But away from that, there are just so many things going on in the asset classes that STA cares about, in particular in options and ETFs and equities, that there is a lot going on in that space as well. So we kind of have these very powerful dynamic forces. Probably one of the fewest, probably the only time that I can remember where we've had such a strong, ambitious agenda at the commission level, while also simultaneously there has been an enormous amount of activity in the ETF options and equity market structure space. So they're both kind of like at boiling type levels. So obviously the idea of a shifting landscape here, is it's really kind of like shifting the landscape is kind of like we're trying to. It's always shifting, but we want to have a more proactive image in people's minds about why it's different this time.
Yeah, I'd like to add what we didn't do is pick that name and then decide to move from DC, then shifting the landscape of where the conference is actually held. But as Jim points out, that shifting landscape theme not only applies to what we deal with and what our organization is all about and the representation thereof. It just matches nicely with shifting the actual conference itself location from DC, where historically we've had great traction, great events. People love it. The only thing I'd say is we did it because if we never try something different, we won't know if we have the best location and what the feedback would be. Unfortunately, there's no other way to do it but to make the leap of faith, and we did it. But on that note, the next 2 years, so 25, 26, we'll be back in DC, which is important for folks to understand and know that it's a big decision to make to move it out of DC, and a lot of board involvement, executive committee involvement, and Jim and the team's leadership at STA made it possible to have the confidence to make the move.
Fantastic. Well, that's great to know. Appreciate that overview. It's not going to be an insignificant change, I would say, for those of us who have gotten used to attending STA via the Amtrak corridor, but certainly an exciting year for your organization. So, thinking more about the few days that you guys will have in store in Orlando this year, tell us a bit more about what attendees can expect on site at the Market Structure Conference.
Sure. I think when we put these events together, we kind of our philosophy or our feelings, our views is that, our markets through technology and efficiencies, our markets are so interconnected with each other, right? Options markets are highly connected with ETFs and ETFs with equities and so on, right? So, we like when people come down here, we really kind of give them a more holistic view of the market structure. If there is a change that occurs in the equity markets, it has a direct impact to how the options people need to respond on that. So it's just that kind of an experience. So one is that when people come down there, the reaction that we hear from them is that they kind of take a step back from their world, whatever they're in, and they have a more holistic view of the marketplace, and they have a better understanding of how changes in one asset class impact the other. So that's kind of the initial thing that we look to on this. More specifically, as far as the content goes, I don't know if I know. We'll talk a little more about the content later on here, but I think that's something what people can expect when they come down. Besides just listen, we try to, it's a great networking as well. Obviously, I think coming out of COVID, people realized the importance. So maybe that we kind of took for granted or didn't give enough priority to the in-person events. That is still going very much strong. People realize that in-person events play a meaningful role in their career development and also in their understanding of how things work. So we will be allowing for that to occur as well.
Yeah, I guess in its simplest form, think about Orlando offering everything that DC had, and then some, in the sense that we could have never offered golf in DC, of course. Well, we haven't. We're going to have poolside cabanas for networking, as Jim referenced. Network's a big part of our conference. And I think of it as like that poolside cabana golf is equivalent to what DC would have outside of our conference, which was Old Ebbitt and Hamilton and all the great meeting places for such networking. So that's kind of the way we try to pull and get the best of both worlds.
Awesome. That all sounds great. It sounds like there are going to be some great new opportunities for attendees and sponsors alike at this year's event. So looking forward to future updates and seeing how it all plays out. Speaking of sponsors, I know that STA sponsors are a big part of making your events a success. I know that you have a kind of a diverse range of sponsors every year across buy and sell side, exchange, technology vendors, and beyond. Tell us a little bit more about what sponsors can expect this year and what some of the benefits might be to coming under that tent.
Sure. What comes to the top of mind is the normal dinner sponsorship, lunch sponsorship, as I mentioned, cabana and pool type sponsorships for networking. We'll have golf sponsorship, which will be new, of course, some fun things on the golf course itself. Coffee stations, which we offered in the past, charging stations. I think there's a couple more in the works, and we should add more as they become available. I think we added one just recently as well. And that's what we'll do as we get through with the hotel and the offering and get feedback from our sponsors as they pick through the menu and kind of get more involved. We should have more items to pick from, and obviously some of them sell out quick. So if you see something you like, you should probably get on it.
Yeah, and then some of the other, I think there's been a very conservative and successful effort at the board level and the organizational level to have the value of sponsorship be not just the event or the 3 days of the event, but also throughout the year. So obviously sponsors who do come in at a certain level, they do get the option to be put on certain committees that we have, and they get like somewhat regular reports that we put out, and they get like a Washington, D.C. resource. A lot of firms, listen, a lot of the big firms, with the big firms, some of the DC offices at the big firms like to deal with us because we kind of get in the weeds on some of this stuff, and they appreciate an extra set of eyes and ears down in DC, be on the Senate Banking, the House Financial Services Committee, FINRA or the SEC, which are all located down in DC. So, there are values to sponsorship that go past just the 3 days of the event. They are for an entire year, and I think we've that really helps us with maintaining and deepening and the relationships that we have.
Fantastic. Great to know. Now, I know that in addition to STA's work to educate the industry, advocate for their interests among legislators, regulators, I know that giving back is another big part of what STA does. So in addition to the excitement around the conference program, the location, I know that STA just announced its charity of choice for 2024, a charity by the name of Brave Gowns. So what can you tell us about this organization?
I mean, listen, there are so many charities out there, and we always like to do something every year. Jim's going to talk a little bit more about what the affiliates do at the level, but there are so many things that we did like about this one. One is that they do have like a national footprint, so they are in different parts of the city, different parts of the country. So we're kind of hoping that by giving them like a national, exposure, that maybe some of the other affiliates maybe pick up on them for next year as well. But listen, it's for kids, and it's just a really good matchup. And I gotta tell you, so a lot of these things they do come down to relationships, and the people who have started this organization, or maybe not started, but the ones who are very much involved in running it now, they are former STA folks from Florida. All right, so those relationships, there's a lot of job volatility in our industry still, and when we see a member that was in one capacity in our industry, an STA member, then they move someplace else. We still maintain the relationships, and we just think it's going to be a wonderful charity. And I think people are going to be very moved when they hear more about it.
Yeah, I would just add, for me personally, when I first heard about the charity and what they do, and how they bring just a little bit more comfort, a little bit of easing of pain and a rough time to get through for any family when you have a youngster in the hospital. It's just a spin on something fun, and you get the parents involved. It got me to kind of step back and appreciate what we all deal with, which is our day to day, and not take for granted that we don't have that happening, let's say, in our world today as we speak. But you never know when it will, and to just know that there's organizations and charities that are just focused on that. I can't help but bring up, I sat on the board of Make-A-Wish early in my career, and I just remember the same theme. They're not going to cure anything, but they're going to just try to make it a little bit better for that unfortunate child that's going through that unfortunate medical issue, or whatever is putting them in the hospital, whatever makes them a candidate at Make-A-Wish. So I just like that. We have a way of picking great charities, and I think we just nailed this one down. It's a great, great charity, like everything they do, and we're happy to support them. And I know the industry, in particular, as Jim mentioned, I'll speak a little bit about what the affiliates do. But in short, the affiliates pick their own charities. They rally behind those charities. Sometimes they keep a charity for multiple years, or if not longer. And this is just picking up on what all our affiliates do, and it's lead by example, kind of, and try to do more.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just say one more thing on this, because he brings up a good point. I mean, this charity of choice that we've done is relatively. We've always done things for charity, right? But what we've changed with our strategy, or whatever you want to call it, around charities, is that we really make a commitment to the charity for an entire year, where we will do something at our annual event, and then we'll do other things for the following 10 months or so, where we're giving them a platform, and we're helping them out. And because of that, it's never like, it's not two ships just passing in the night type thing. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing it probably around 6 years now, and we're really proud to have 3 past charities of choice, that it's still, those relationships are still going on. Catch a Lift, Foundation for Women Warriors, Wall Street Rides, are 3 that kind of jump to mind. And it's much more, it's deeper than just like an event. We're talking about a charity here that it is highly likely that we are going to have a relationship with this charity so long as both organizations are still around.
Fantastic. That's great. And I know from experience being down there at your events, it's great to meet with some of these charity leaders, year after year, get an update from them, hear about some of the impact that they're making and just making sure that, again, they are getting as much mileage as they can out of the platform that you guys give them. So awesome to hear. Great to hear about that commitment and just how thoughtful you guys are about how you're giving back out of the many charities that are out there. So thank you guys for that explanation. I think we have time for one more question. And going back to the program a little bit, I know it's still coming together, but I know that there are some exciting things in the works. So what is one topic that you guys think will be especially compelling for attendees at this year's conference? What program updates or what topics should attendees and sponsors be paying close attention to maybe over the next few weeks and leading up to the event?
Well, Jim, why don't I kick off and you take us home, because this is the last question. And I think if I gave Jim just you pick one topic or one panel or one fireside chat that we have committed and I could pick from, I bet my life on it, he'd get it right. I cut my teeth in the business in '89 in option side. I've been on the exchange side for about half my career, so it's 30 years of experience. So my choice is obviously the option panel, and I give our conference leaders and our board and our executive committee all the support that is given and all the thought that goes into putting the agenda together by the team. In our case, it's Erin and Dawn and Jim, to put the right subject matter and the right asset classes. So the mainstay has always been ETFs, equities, and of course options, not always, but they're in there all the time now. And I think the affiliates pick up on it as well, which is great. And I think it's here to stay. And I think the name of our panel for options will be Listed Options Are Everywhere. So it is the talk. It's a great asset class within what I would call the best industry on the planet, which is the financial industry. And options is just one of the many great assets within the financial community that I'm proud to be a part of as an operator for many years.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, I think our journey with options started when it was most predominantly a retail type product, and over the years, we're seeing the growth, and it hasn't just been on the retail side. It's been with institutions, asset managers looking to use simple overlay strategies, or just they're using it for the same reason that retail uses it for, just on bigger size. And now we're starting to see it come into the ETF space as well, with ETFs holding some, putting together strategies and giving that access to investors on it. So, listen, what are some of the highlights? Listen, we have SEC Commissioner Mark Ueda speaking on Thursday. We do have, we are going to have, Dan Gallagher from Robinhood. He'll be presenting with Brett Redfern. For those who don't remember Brett, he was the former director of the Trading and Markets Division at the SEC. I think that's going to be a very entertaining and great, better than a cup of coffee to wake up with on Thursday. We're also going to be doing something around just like, the Florida location, the AKA also known as Wall Street South. So we're close to having someone present on that, rather than I give up the name right now. But I do think when we come out with the announcement, people are going to see how, we got somebody good with a Florida brand to them to come open the conference up and talk about Florida and all the migration that we've seen down there.
Awesome. Well, I think I speak for everyone when I say we're looking forward to hearing how these topics will be addressed and the speakers that you guys are going to bring into the fold to address them. So thank you guys for that update. For those interested in attending the STA Market Structure Conference, we'll include a link to the registration page in the YouTube description and in the blog post for this episode, or you can just head over to securitytraders.org and head over to the 2024 conference page to learn more. So Jim and Jim, thank you both for your time today. Fantastic to get a sense of the program, the new location, and sorry, Jim. What can you add?
One thing before we end it. I don't know exactly what game Doug will think I said this in the Stanley Cup, because this is being recorded, but I will tell him congratulations, and the Stanley Cup was not over when I said this.
No, I appreciate that. The season was over for me when my Rangers were sadly eliminated. So
That makes two of us, but we
yeah,
have a sponsor and great customer and person in the business.
that's right.
Or to Doug Seifer, who has a vested interest in such team.
Fantastic. Yes, he does. Well,
Okay.
again, thank you both for the time today. It's been a great discussion. If you'd like to hear more episodes of At the Forefront like this one, you can head over to forefrontcoms.com, mouse over to the news and insights page, and check out the full episode archive for At the Forefront. So until next time, this has been At the Forefront. Jim and Jim, we look forward to seeing you guys in Orlando this fall, and would thank you again for your time today.